All right, little check-in here as we're approaching the trade deadline. It is July 20th, as you can see. We are here at the All-Star teams being announced, and I actually haven't looked at this, but I'm assuming we have, I should go back here. I'm assuming we have a decent amount of All-Stars because, as you can see, things are going well here in Anaheim. We're 63 and 36, 7 games in front of the Seattle Mariners here for first place in the Pacific Division. Love to see it. Take a look at these All-Stars. Just a quick little skim through of the American League. There you go. Chris Livonis makes the All-Star team as a reliever, 11 and 2 in the bullpen. Not that I give a shit about win-loss, but still interesting to see. Taro Kaneda, also an All-Star as our closer. He's got 20 saves and a sub-3 ERA. Logan O'Hoppe makes the All-Star team as a catcher. He's still doing it here at age 33. Nolan Shaunawell also makes the All-Star team. That was to be expected with his start that he had of the season. He's already got a 3-WAR, 167 WRC+. He's got 22 home runs, 16 doubles here at the break. And then we also have Chris Aquino in his first full season here in the big leagues, making the All-Star team. He's also got a 3-WAR already, 138 WRC+, and 31 big flies here at the break. He's doing what he does, folks. He's here to hit home runs, and he is doing just that. I will say that Shaunawell, even if he is having this season, the fact that our lineup right now is Shaunawell first, Padilla second, and Aquino third, I think ideally Padilla's third, and then maybe like Aiden Huzzy is our second baseman, who is current. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be like so quickly giving up on Shaunawell to get this guy up in the big leagues, but I think this guy's pretty good. Maybe we get a Devlet bump in the offseason or something. Who knows? But that is an offseason thing to worry about. Right now, we obviously still have all these guys on the team. So we're going to keep rocking and rolling with him, obviously. So Aquino making as a third baseman. And then we also had nobody else. Nobody else made it on our team, but, we'll take that. Decent amount of All-Stars here for our Los Angeles Angels, the 63-win Angels. I'm not really going to get into going over how our individual players have been doing so far. Right now, we're going to wait till the end of the season to see how our team actually finishes the year. Right now, we're kind of just checking in, seeing how the All-Stars were, and getting a feel for the trade deadline. One thing I will say is that we recently just waived Chase Brunson because he has no options, and he wasn't playing. I didn't want him on the team, and I was just like, okay, we're going to waive him, and he got claimed. So, it's whatever. He's a decent player, but I'm not going to lose sleep over losing him on the waiver wire. Now, I will say that one reason I waived him was because Gutierrez has been able to play a decent center field for us in years past. He's been like a 60-grade center fielder with that position. Obviously more of a corner guy, but he's been able to hold his own in center. And for whatever reason, he's kind of not that guy anymore, where he's still really good in the corners, but he is not the center fielder option anymore. And he's definitely starting to not be the guy that we had for all these years as like that bench player. We had the 2 really good years, I would say, of him being like, not really good, but solid years of him being like a shortstop platoon guy. Role got less defined last year, still was decent, and then this year his role is still about the same there. But, so basically I should be saying outfield is something that we could probably look to improve upon. One thing I will say is that we did just recently call up Chase Tucson here, who is an extra. We have an 8th guy in the bullpen now because we usually rock 7 bullpen, and then we have an extra guy in the bench. But right now we're rocking only 3 bench players and then an extra guy on 3 bench players, right? Or is it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4 bench players. We usually rock 5 bench players, but we're rocking 4 right now. So we got Peter LaFontaine, Chalowski, Gutierrez, and then we're rocking an extra lefty in the pen and Chase Tucson, who came up. He wasn't really performing in Double-A, but he was really, really good in Double-A last year. And, I just think he's a decent lefty arm, so we called him up. And we're just, just get another lefty up here in the big leagues here for now. Probably not going to be a long-term thing, but he is up with the team right now. So yeah, we could probably look to improve like the bullpen, and then also maybe get like an outfielder, maybe even probably just one outfielder if I picked up an outfielder, because I do like some of our options in the minors. Somebody like Ben Urbanowicz here, who expects to be playing in the major leagues. He was our 9th round pick in 2028, right-handed bat. Not tearing the cover off the ball here in AAA this season, but he was tearing the cover off the ball in AA last year, as you can see by the stat line that he had. But he's a decent player. He's got the really good speed profile, bunch of green on this profile with some good avoid Ks. Can play a really good corner for you, but he's never going to play center. I would never say he's going to be like a starter, like a long-term starter for us, but he's absolutely like a guy who can start for you if you really need somebody to start, or he could be like a solid 4th outfielder type for you. So, I mean, if we call up Urbanowicz and that works as like a sort of trade deadline thing, I would not be opposed to doing that. But also at the same time, you don't want to rely too much on guys who haven't really proven it. But I still do think that Urbanowicz does have a good bat. I've been talking to Anthony Murphy. He's also still an option. He's another guy who has a really good corner, but he can't really play the center. And he's entirely like hit or miss when it comes to his bat profile. Like, he'll give you some home runs, but he's not going to make consistent contact, and he's going to strike out a lot. He is tearing things up in AAA right now. He's got the high leader. He's got the really good personality class. So maybe he's somebody who comes up at some point too. And I should also mention that he is currently already on the 40-man as opposed to Urbanowicz. Oh wait, never mind. Urbanowicz is on the 40-man. I forgot that I was protecting because he was Rule 5 eligible in the offseason. So never mind. They are both currently on the 40-man roster. Another player who is on the 40-man roster is Daniel Amaya. He was our 1st-round pick in 2028. Another power threat bat that we have. And he's a guy who, it's still like 50, but he is, I guess he could give you like a spot here or there in center field, but he's never going to start in center. He's definitely a corner guy. This is what I'm talking about. We have so many corner guys in our system right now that we're going to have to trade some of these guys because we just can't, like, we're shooting ourselves in the foot here if we just hang on to these guys and don't trade them for like different needs. So who knows? Maybe Amaya is a trade chip here at this deadline. Maybe he's a guy we call up, but he is, not having a great season in AAA. The thing about him is he's never had a great season. You take a look at his minor leagues here. I mean, he's never had a triple-digit WRC plus at any level. He's never had like an outstanding, like, holy shit, this guy's, 1st-round pick stuff. But for whatever reason, he just keeps improving. Maybe not keeps improving, but, he's still got the 60 potential. Who knows? But he's an option to come up. He's an option to get traded. We'll have to see what we do. We also have somebody like Steve Bryant here, who was a 7th-round pick in 2028, right-handed bat. He is another similar bat to Steve Bryant, where he's not as good defensively, or he is a similar bat to Urbanowicz, I should say, where he's got a bunch of green. I would say his contact bat is a little bit better than Urbanowicz. At least I think it is. Okay, so his contact potential is a bit better than Urbanowicz, but I would say they're definitely similar players. Urbanowicz has a little bit more home run power, whereas Bryant's a little bit more contact oriented. But yeah, Bryant, he started the year in AA, repeating it because he had a little bit of time there last year to start in the year in High A and was tearing things up. Started in AA, then he went to AA, was really good. Tore up AA this year. I mean, just on fire in 175 plate appearances. We called him the AAA. He's been very good there as well. So, Steve Bryant, why is it on OSA? Was I looking at his... Okay, I'm pretty sure I was comparing it when it was still on Head Scout, but whatever. He's another guy we have in the system who is currently not on the 40-man, but he is eligible for the Rule 5, so we will have to make a decision on him here, at least in the offseason. If you're wondering how Mr. Alejandro Canalate is doing in AAA, the bat is not really doing anything right now, but he is playing a very good center field, enough to where he's not putting up like a great WAR, but he does have a 9 ZR in center field in 81 games, which you will take. I would hope he'd do a little bit better than that with it with an 80 range, but we still believe in this guy. Obviously, he's a 60 great potential. We would not have traded for this guy if we didn't think that he was going to be our center fielder at some point. I don't like that this gap power I think has gone down. It has, yes. His potential gap has gone down, but this guy is absolutely somebody we're going to be throwing in the lab here this offseason and seeing what we can do with him, because Canalate, looking at him as a key piece. Not this season, but, next year, maybe the year after that, we'll have to see how things go. But if we just take a quick look at how our team stats are looking, the bats are still just tearing things up. Lots of ones here, lots of top threes, third in average, second in hits, third in extra base hits. Still striking out a ton, but it's whatever. That's what we expect. We're not swiping as many bags as we used to. We're really bad at base running right now, which is kind of worrying. But overall, the bats, very, very good here. And then the pitching has started to come along as well. We're still not quite top 3 in defense like we used to be, but I'll take 6th. It's a positive ZR. And then we're middle of the road on some things, and then second in WAR, third in opponent's average. 9th in runs allowed is definitely something we want to try to improve here. So pitching is definitely what we're going to be looking to really try to improve upon here at the deadline. And if we take a look at our pitchers at the moment, if we sort by innings pitched, Lampkin is doing the damn thing. Lampkin and Perez are not the issue. Both of them are pitching very well. They're doing what they should be doing at the top of the rotation. Healy has started to come around a bit. If we take a look at his splits here, you can see he had a good April and then a really bad May, but he's been solid in June and July. So I'm not really too concerned about Healy. Vasile, I think he had a good June, but then he's been bad in July. So Vasile may be a guy who we look to move to the pen the rest of the way out and try to move him out of the rotation, whereas Hoskins has actually been quite good. His ratings are starting to come up here. A lot of green you're seeing here. We would like to still see a lot of this potential get fulfilled and not just kind of stall out as a 50 and everything like Amari Collar did, which we will get into an update on him here soon. And also tap into this control. But so far, Mike Hoskins pitching pretty well. We take a look here. He was really good as a reliever in 8 and 15 and 2/3, and then in 45 innings and 10 starts, he has been solid. Nothing too crazy. He's not striking out guys, but that's not his game. I would say he's probably walking a bit too many guys. Once the thing about Hoskins is that once this control, we need the control to develop. If the control gets up to in the 60s and 70s, especially if it gets into 70, 75 range, that's when he starts to look like the dude we wanted. If he's just this guy who just kind of is a finesse pitcher, gets really lucky with the ground balls, and doesn't have the pinpoint control, so he's still walking 11.5% of guys, not the worst walk rate, but it's for a guy who you want to be a pinpoint control guy, you'd like to see a bit better. So we really need that to tap into it. So just keep improving, please. Don't be Amari Collar 2.0. And then speaking of Amari Collar, just some more dreadful news on him here. He's not hurt, but he has been really bad in 10 starts in AAA. So it is Salt Lake, so the run environment is pretty insane, but still was not good in the big leagues. Has been even worse even in the minors with this 3 home run rate. And he was a fly ball pitcher when we sent him down. He's now an extreme fly ball pitcher. He's not it, folks. Amari Collar just he hasn't panned out to be what we thought he was. He gave us 2 decent seasons in the rotation, and then it looks like, at age 25, almost 26, he's on the outlook in it. And then if we take a look at the trade block here, just go by starters. Right on the top, you're seeing Trey Savage, who is an expiring free agent. So, I don't think the A's are bad. Yeah, the A's are competing. I don't know why they would be. I guess they are the A's, so they could do whatever to try to get something for him, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to trade for Trey Savage, even though he is the top guy here. We probably could get him if we wanted to, but we're not going to do that. Nick Abel, also being shopped around here. He last year was really good for them. This year, he's got like the same ERA fit minus, but he's not like on an absurd not give up home run rate, and his BABIP has ticked up quite a bit this year. You know, he also has one more year in his deal, so I don't know if we want to pick up Mick Abel. I mean, we traded him away, so well, there are some decent starters here. So like Jack Finley is a possible option. He's an expiring lefty, extreme ground ball, definitely more of a back end sort of guy, but he's been a solid starter, as you can see here with Baltimore, just posting innings, being a decent back end guy for them. For quite a decent long time, but not really anything too special. Andrew Abbott is sort of like a similar thing where he hasn't really had any like great years. He's just kind of been around forever, like as a 50 overall guy. Nate Dom here from the Padres. He sort of same thing, sort of thing. A lot of like 50 overall guys who haven't really been great. Yumin Lin here, Taiwanese lefty, expiring contract. Okay. This is somebody I think so far Yumin Lin's probably the one that I prefer the most. I would like to get this scouting up a bit, see if we can get that more dialed in. Shane McClanahan, veteran Shane McClanahan, he has a vesting option for 180 innings. Okay. Interesting. But I mean, the Dodgers are competing, so I don't know why they would trade him. Why is he on the block? Like, they're not going to... It doesn't make sense. No, they're not! They suck! The Dodgers suck! Oh my god! I just assumed the Dodgers were good because they're the Dodgers, but maybe that could be an option, you know? Maybe we get Shane McClanahan for the rest of the season, and we kind of just, like, do a little bit of manipulation here on this 180 innings. You know, he starts getting up to like 100, 160-ish, and we're like, all right, cool your jets there, McClanahan. But we'd have to make sure we have that dialed in, because we do not, under any means, want this to be ticked and him to receive that next season. We do not want that at all. But McClanahan could be an interesting guy to pick up here at the deadline. Somebody who has been, obviously, you know, at his peak, he was like a really solid, like middle of the rotation guy in this sim. He's had some four WAR years, some high 3 WAR years. It's kind of been up and down more so here in the last few years of his career, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the name that's like ticking in my brain and being like, oh, we should get Shane McClanahan. Because I'm a big Shane McClanahan guy in real life, but I don't know. We'll see. Definitely on my radar. I think we might have found out why the Dodgers are bad now. They still expect to be a win-now team, but you know we know that they have McClanahan, who's 36, is, you know, obviously aging, is not the guy he used to be. They got Shohei still, who's 39. He's wrecked. He's no longer a good pitcher this season. He was good last year, split between the bullpen and the rotation, though. And he's been really bad this year. Is he even still hitting? So yeah, he hasn't been a full-time hitter since 2030. 2030 was the last time he was a full hitter. So he's had 3 seasons here of not being a full-time hitter for them. Which, I mean, I guess, yeah, sure, whatever. He's like an all-or-nothing guy now who can really only hit home runs against... I guess he can hit it against both sides, but I mean, he's not Shohei Ohtani anymore. He's 39 years old. He's wrecked. That's obviously a big part of why they're not good. We're in the last year of the Ohtani deal. That's how far in the future we are. Jonathan Santucci is 30. He has been having a bad year this year after a really good year last year. Yamamoto is 34. He's still on paper very good, and they have him signed through 2035 here. But he's, you know, more of a pedestrian. I don't know. He's had some weird years where he's had like big wars, but he hasn't really had like a lights out ERA or anything like that. But yeah, so Yamamoto's old. He's 34. They got 39-year-old Shota Imanaga in their bullpen, who's been mainly in AAA. They've also got 37-year-old Luis Ortiz. They've got our guy Ben Joyce here, who has been good for them, but they're using him as like a single inning guy because they're stupid. And then also, if you're interested, Zach Neto has not been good for them. He's 85 starts, 86 games, 351 plate appearances, a sub 100 WRC plus. Not ideal. Not ideal when they sign him through 2037. That's very Dodgers, or very, very money doesn't matter Dodgers move, where they're just like, hey, we'll give a 32-year-old a deal through 2037. Why not? All right, so I've done some looking around at some of the teams. I've gone in on the standings, and I've looked at some of these teams that are just not in it, and I've looked at their starters and just kind of decided on who I think is really going after. Guys who aren't listed on the trade block, but are like, veteranish starters on teams that are not competing right now. And really, it's nobody is any better than the dudes that I talked about on the trade block here. So like, there really isn't any better options than like these dudes, which is like pretty sad. But I mean, it makes sense because these teams are bad for a reason. I will say the one thing that I do think could be a possibility is the White Sox. Both Chicago teams are out of it. The White Sox have Noah Schultz here, who is, like I said, veteran. He's about to be 30. He is signed for multiple more seasons. So we would have him for the rest of this year, next year, and then he probably opts into 2035, so I would say we have him for 2 more years after this, which is, it's going to take a decent amount to get him, but he would go a long way to solidifying the top of our rotation here. We would have a 3-headed dragon of Lampkin, Perez, and Noah Schultz at the top of our rotation, and then Andrew Healy as a 4th. That is, you are rocking and rolling on 1 through 4 right there. We have Healy in the 5th spot. Or not Healy, Hoskins in the 5th spot. I think this is worth going for. Noah Schultz, I like his profile. He's been very good in this sim, a consistent ace for this White Sox team. We're going to go for it here. We're going to see if we can get a few years of Noah Schultz, and let's see what it takes. I think we're going to pull the trigger on this here. The White Sox, they would do this. I offered them Daniel Amaya, and I was like, okay, let's give them like one more prospect here and see what they think of that. So I offered them Amaya, who we've talked about. He's a good player. I just don't like his profile as much because his power is not like in the 70s, as opposed to like, this is a similar-ish profile to Chris Lesnar. He's a bit not going to strike out as much as Chris Lesnar and Aquino. But also the BABIP is not as good as those guys. And then he also doesn't have, like, the elite power. He's more so got, like, Juan Padilla power, which is still nice if he taps into it, obviously. But we've got plenty of guys, I'd be willing to give up Daniel Mai. That's why he was the main piece in this deal. He's never really shown it at any level. We're just gonna cut bait on him. If we get bitten by him, I'm sure, I'll put this clip into a clip here in 10 episodes when the White Sox destroy us and Daniel Amaya is like an MVP candidate or something. Then I'll really be, this is dangerous here, trading with the White Sox. But I think this is worth it. So Daniel Amaya is the main piece in the deal. Jesus Vela was the other option. I gave them this big power, 55 potential third baseman. And then I was like, hey, what do you guys want for that? And they were like, hey, they gave us the whole add any of these guys, and I'm like, I'm not going to throw in this guy who's an international free agent who I really like. I'm not going to give you Lampkin, obviously. I'm not going to give you, I could give you this guy. That'd be fine. So maybe we'll just do this guy instead. Because it probably makes sense to give them prospects as opposed to giving them Petty. But it's like, I was fine giving up Petty. He's 30 years old. He's on an expiring contract. He's been not good this season. So I was like, hey, I'll give you Chase Petty. I'm sure he could figure it out if we stuck with him. Right now he's in a mid-over relief role for us. But maybe we'll pivot. Maybe we'll pivot and we'll give them. Can we just go back to the thing, please? Here we go. We'll pivot and we'll give them Belmares instead. Yeah, I think we're gonna do this instead. So we're gonna give them 3 prospects and Amaya, who we've talked about, Vela, who's got like a good power profile, corner infield type guy, high leader, you know, obviously far away from the big leagues, but they're trading for prospects. And then Jesus Belmares, who is another far away from the big leagues sort of bat first profile guy. They like him, so I'm like, hey man, you guys want this deal? We're going to do it. So we're going to send these 3 guys to the White Sox for Noah Schultz for 3 years of Noah Schultz, or for the rest of this season, and then 2 years at 35.5, which is, you know, it's a decent amount of money. But he is an ace-level pitcher, and I think he's really good. It's going to help our team here. We need to improve our pitching down the stretch, and we don't really have any reinforcements coming up right now through the system, that is. Who are like immediately ready. So Noah Schultz is going to come to our team here, and we're going to have a decent amount of lefties in our rotation. And now what we're going to do is we are going to send Tucson back down to the minors. We'll put him in Double-A just because I don't want him getting destroyed in Triple-A. And then we can put Schultz on the big league team, move the Seal into the bullpen. Schultz he pitched 4 days ago. We're set to throw Lampkin, Perez. Healy was 3 days ago. So we can go Lampkin, Perez, Schultz, Healy, Hoskins. Very lefty heavy, but that'll fuck with teams, you know? A lot of teams aren't prepared to face lefties that often. But I believe these, and it's not like they're lefties that have trouble against lefties. These, 3 of these lefties here are like legitimate dudes. And then we can turn Mike Vasile here into a reliever, and we'll just have him as sort of like a long relief mop-up guy at the moment, because he just hasn't really proven to me that he can pitch here. So I was like, let's just put him in a long relief mop-up role, and let's avoid high leverage here. He's just kind of there to eat some innings in the bullpen. Give us an option that's not somebody who's going to get burned in like big time innings. And if you're wondering about Jose Lopez here, yes, his ERA is not doing well right now, but his FIP is. He's just getting really unlucky. He's not giving up a ton of home runs. He's striking out a bunch of guys. He's doing Jose Lopez type stuff, and I'm just going to keep rocking with him as that lefty in the bullpen, because we trust him as like a guy who pitches here and there as against lefties. So we're here like 2 days away from the trade deadline here, and I'm just like, I don't really know if you want to pick up anybody else. There's not really anybody out there that's like standing out to me as like somebody I really should go out and get. I'd be open to getting another like reliever, but there's just like not any, like if we sort by all relievers, like none of these dudes jump out to me. Like Estrada is an expiring contract, but he's on the A's. The A's are really good. I'm not gonna rip off the A's because they're really good. Chavilli is okay. He's having a bad past 2 seasons. And then also he's not an expiring contract, so I'm not trying to pick that up. Caleb Ferguson, interested in the lefty, but once again, he was really bad last year. I mean, my God. But then once again, also a guy who is not an expiring contract, not really open to that. Jairo Iriarte. I know who this guy is. I just don't know exactly how to say his last name. Iriarte, something like that. Right-handed pitcher. He is in arbitration. He could be like a decent guy to pick up. I mean, I wouldn't mind picking this guy up. We might look into picking this guy. We might look up into picking him up. Darius Vines on the A's, not really interested in picking him up, even if they did get him as a minor league signing. And he's also just like not that interesting to me of a pitcher. So I'd probably prefer Jairo, to be honest, over Darius Vines, because he has the better stuff, and I want the better stuff as a reliever. Joe Boyle has big stuff, but he's a 45. We could look into some of these 45 guys. Like we could go and let's just go like pitching ratings. It is on pitching ratings. What am I doing? Sort by stuff. And we got like this 45 guy who, I would not mind trying to pick up. Maybe not, because he hasn't really proven it in the big leagues ever. So maybe not. Yeah, but yeah, I would say that it's probably Yairo who's the one who stands out to me as a possible guy to pick up. And then I was like, maybe there's like a starter out there that we could like one of these 50 grade starters we could move into the bullpen role. And I was like, Connor Phillips. Why does the name sound familiar? And then it hit me. Connor Phillips. We had him. We got him from the Dodgers. If you remember, we got him from the Dodgers as a reliever. He had like an okay-ish year in 2027. 2028 he was not good, and then we lost him in the Rule 5, not the Rule 5, the expansion draft to Montreal in 2030. Or I think that's what happened, wasn't it? How do we get rid of him? He comes to our team. Yes, in 2029 he goes to the Expos in the expansion draft. And then he goes there as a starting pitch or as a reliever, and he has a really good season in their bullpen. And then what did they do? They traded him for this guy who's their first baseman, who's been like whatever. He has like some decent home run numbers for them. Of course it does this. It sends me back here. They trade him for that guy to Boston, and Boston puts him in the rotation, and he's just like, boom, 5 WAR season. What? 5 WAR for this? I mean, Jesus Christ! And then last year he was like okay-ish, solid. You'll take that. And then this year he's also been good in their rotation. Like, what the hell's going on? I mean, he's got good stuff. That's why I went for him in the first place, but he just never panned out for us. But what do you know? He's here making a bunch of money for Boston. Obviously not going to look to trade him because he is not an expiring contract, but I just thought that was interesting when I was looking through the names here. Also, I'm taking a look at another look at Yairo here, and it's like I like his profile. He's got the 65 stuff, the 55 movement, the control's good enough for a reliever. He's got 3 solid pitches here, extreme ground ball. A lot of stuff jumping out on the page here that I'm like, I like this guy. And now I know relievers are very volatile, and things can very easily just like flip a switch, and he could come to us and be very much better than he has been. But he's been really bad in Detroit. Like he's been, you cannot play this guy type bad. That's not ideal. And looking at his major league numbers here in the past, he really hasn't ever been good. He had 1 good year last year in Detroit, and aside from that, he's never really been a dude. All right, so I think we're gonna do this trade. We're gonna be sending down Jose Lopez, and we're gonna be replacing him with a guy who can give us multi innings out of the bullpen. Not that Lopez can't give us multi innings, but McClanahan here is gonna come in and be our lefty reliever. I just think he's going to fill that role pretty well, and we're making the Dodgers retain 75% of it here. So we're still not going to let him reach this vesting option of 180 innings, which is 180 innings. And he signed that expecting he was going to be starting, but he's going to be in our bullpen here. He's got 55 innings. There's no chance he gets to 180 innings for us. So McClanahan going to be heading off into the free agency in this offseason. But we're going to see what old man 36-year-old McClanahan can do for us. Maybe his stuff ticks up a bit. He still throws super hard. He's got the multi-inning stuff. He's still got 4 really good pitches. He's not walking anybody this year. He's got decent control. Striking out a bunch of guys. And he's even pitching in their bullpen. You can see here he was okay in the rotation, but he's been... I guess he probably had like 1 bad start recently because this was like 80-ish, but now it's up. But still, McClanahan, we're gonna see what we have in him, and if it doesn't work out, we've got them retaining a bunch of it, so it's whatever. Not that like we're gonna let him hit his vesting anyways, but we're gonna see what we got in him. And all we're giving up is Billy Carlson, who's 27 years old, decent contact, infield profile, who's never going to be a big league player for us. And then they were just like, hey, throw in this guy. And I was like, Okay, the other guys, I don't know what it was, because the other options they gave us, it was like, hey, throw in this guy who's a decent reliever you like. Throw in I guess not any of them were too great, but he was like, hey, throw in this guy who just took first overall in 2032. Or throw in this guy who you just traded for with the idea of being your starting center fielder here in a couple seasons. So I was like, yeah, we'll just throw in Garza. He's whatever. He's just like a, not great. Maybe he's a decent bat someday, but he's whatever. So Garza's going to go to the Dodgers with Billy Carlson, and we're going to get Shane McClanahan for the rest of the season and see if we can work some magic with the old man. Oh, yeah, and when you move him into a reliever, his stuff does indeed tick up, as I would have expected. We're feeling good. Folks, we're rocking and rolling here. We're on a winning streak, or we just ended a winning streak of 16 games, lost a comical game 14-6 in extras. They must have had just a monster 10th inning, but 16-game winning streak here. Things are going well here in Anaheim. As you can see, we're at 82-45, 8 games in front of the Oakland Athletics. Things are just popping off here. Folks, we've got a couple updates here. One bad, two promising here in the minor leagues before we wrap up the season here. First one you're seeing on your screen right here, Zaire Benefield, our third-round pick here just this draft a couple months ago at the University of Richmond here. Got off to a decent start in A-ball, torn rotator cuff. It happened again, folks. I mean, what can you even say at this point? What can you even fucking say? Every single goddamn starter we take just immediately gets hurt. And it's not like I'm throwing them out there 120 pitches every time. I limit these guys to 90 pitches when they're in the minor leagues. I don't want them getting hurt. We just have the worst luck of all time. But when it comes to promising stuff in the minor leagues, well, first of all, I should mention Noah Schultz here, top pitcher in the American League in the month of August. What a great month there for Noah Schultz coming over from the White Sox. But then the other one, or I guess it's actually... Oh, no, there is two. There is two. So one of them, you see this guy here, Juan Machua, whatever this guy's name is, kind of came out of nowhere for me. He was a scouting discovery in 2027, and, he's never going to be a starter in the big leagues, but this guy looking like he could be a decent relief option for us. 23 years old, up here in AA in Rocket City, and he is just lights out in this AA rotation right now, striking out 36.2% of his batters, only walking 6.4, home run rate below 1. What can you say? The guy's tearing things up. This guy is on our radar for next season in the big league bullpen. And then remember a guy by the name of Red Horse Mulligan, folks? Well, for a while it looked like this guy was never going to be anything, but Red Horse Mulligan has started to figure some things out. He is never going to be a good defender at any position, but he's starting to figure out the home run thing here. As you can see, in starting off in high A was pretty good. 23 home runs, comes at the AA. He's been fantastic. 183 WRC plus, 2 WAR, 18 home runs, 8 doubles, a 4-digit OPS. Obviously the BABIP is running quite hot, but Red Horse Mulligan suddenly looking like a decent little power option for us here in our system. And I should also mention that it's continued after winning Batter of the Month in August down in the Southern League. It is continued here as he comes out there against the Tennessee Smokies, and he just like 1, 2, 3, there we go, brother. 3 home run game against the Smokies. I mean, the guy's he's just crushing it in AA. What do you want from me? Folks, it went down to the wire. The Angels sputtered a little bit here in September, but enough to get 99 wins and beat out the Oakland A's by 1 game to win the Pacific Division. So the Angels will indeed get the first round bye, back in that position for the first time since 2031. We went through the wild card last year. Now we don't have to go through that. We're in the DS to start things off this year as we win the Pacific Division here in 2033. Take a look at our team stats here. You can see 12-15 in September. not ideal. We had a little bit of a struggle in May, a little bit of a struggle in September, but we've had some dynamite months of April, June, August, tearing things up. So and usually when we had the bad month of May, and then boom, we came out June, July, August, we went on a big run. So that's what's going to happen here. We kind of sputtered going into September, but now we're going to go to the playoffs and it's just boom, we're going to explode. So you can see a lot of ones here. The batting average has dropped a bit. We're in 8th with the batting average, which is kind of disappointing to see. But overall, you're not going to complain too much when you're 1 in OBP, slugging, OPS, WAR, WOBA, runs scored. You're scoring the most runs. You're not going to complain. The most home runs, the most walks. Now we are striking out. Less than we were, though. This was 11th. Now it's 10th. 11th in stolen bases. And then the worst base running team in the American League. I think that's the worst still. But anyways, pitching ended up being pretty decent. Tied for 6th in runs allowed. This was at one point like 9th or even 11th at one point, I want to say. Maybe 9th. But overall, solid pitching staff here. 4th in ERA, 5th in starters, 10th in bullpen. The bullpen was a bit shaky, but it's whatever. 3rd in WAR, 5th in hits around, and then 6th in runs allowed, obviously. 1st in opponents average, 3rd in BABIP, 6th and 7th in home runs and walks, respectively, which is, respectable, not the best, but then 3rd in strikeouts, and then we got our ZR up to 4th, which is definitely more along the lines of what we'd like to see here in Anaheim. So let's take a look at this pitching staff here. Let's sort by WAR on the staff here, and Justin Lampkin with a 5 WAR season as our ace. We really had 3 aces. We have a 3-headed ace now. We have Lampkin, who has a 5 WAR, had a great season, 151 ERA plus, 79 FIP minus, 26 K percentage, 6 walk percentage you round up. Noah Schultz with a 4 WAR, 6.5 R WAR, very similar ERA and FIP minus. 26 strikeout rate, 6 walk rate. Yuri Perez, a 4 WAR, 4.5 R WAR, 120 ERA plus, 86 FIP minus, 26 strikeout rate, 27 if you round up, a 7 walk rate, and then all these guys had similar, very even 1 home run per 9. So 3-headed dragon here atop our rotation. Then Andrew Healy. He started to figure things out, but he overall wasn't the greatest season for him, but he did have a few good months, with June, July, and August being solid, but then along with the rest of the team, sputtered in September a bit. And if you take a look at his stats, though, we'll take that. He was fine. He's our 4th starter at this point. We'll take that as our 4th starter, absolutely. Our 5th starter, Mike Hoskins, put up a 1 WAR season, 2 R WAR in 22 starts, 36 appearances overall. If we take a look at his splits here, about league average as a starter, was good as a reliever. We'd like to see him keep improving. He's the 5th starter, and I'm just seeing this now. That's new. God, he didn't even get hurt, I don't think. I guess he had a bunch of nagging stuff. He had a bunch of 1 week, couple day injuries, and I guess that's enough. That's enough to be you're fragile now because you had 4 a couple day injuries in 1 season. So now you're fragile. All right. Well, we'll have to figure out how to go about that, but right now, Mike Hoskins, we're fine with him as the 5th starter. In the bullpen, Shamar, a very solid season. Started the year as a middle reliever, now as a stopper. 78 2/3, a 1 WAR, solid ERA, FIP minus. He was solid. Not going to complain about anything there. Mike Vasile, however, he was not good. We take a look at his splits here. Was not good in the rotation, and then he just kind of had a decent FIP and was at a bad ERA in the bullpen. He's not really proven to be that great for us, but it's whatever. He was in a long relief mop-up role for us, along with Chase Petty, who did not have a good year either. Overall, it was up and down. He was the only pitcher who was good in September, apparently. He did get 1 start because Hoskins missed a game. But overall, not a great season for Chase Petty. Eric Rose missed the first chunk of the year, ended up getting 62 innings still in 38 appearances. He was solid. Not going to complain about him. We talked about Hoskins. Kaneda was solid as a closer in 53 and two-thirds innings. He's even getting less innings than games. So, that's how you know he's really just like his stamina is cooked, folks. It is not what it was when he came over from the MPB. Chris Livonis made the All-Star team, and then he was solid. Not going to complain about that. We talked about Chase Petty. McClanahan, last time I checked on this, he did not have a great stint with us. Gave up way too many home runs. Did not strike out nearly as many guys as he was with the Dodgers for whatever reason. But, probably not going to make the playoff roster if I had to assume. And then William Schmidt also was not great for us this season. You can see here a negative WAR, a bad FIP. He was an all-star last year, and then this year he was just not great. He's another guy that if he does make the playoff roster, he's not going to be in any sort of high leverage situation for us. He's a guy in there who just kind of like he's the one of the bottom tier options. And then the real meat and potatoes of this team here is the bats. Look at all these 4 WARs. You can ride up the 5 on some of them. Juan Padilla, ride up the 5 WAR, 154 WRC plus, 23 doubles, 33 home runs. Doesn't strike out. He's incredible. Juan Padilla is great, folks. Nolan Shawnowell, in his year where he's probably going to be heading into free agency, because obviously we just did pick up Noah Schultz's contract, so now our budget situation is probably not going to lend ourselves to bringing back a first baseman. But if this was the last run for us with Nolan Shawnowell, what a run it was. A 160 WRC plus, a 5 WAR if you round up, 34 home runs, 32 doubles. You will absolutely take that. One of the great power hitters in Angels history in this sim. I would have to imagine if we go to the info page. Absolutely. He's number 2 on the list behind Nolan Shawnowell. So he's overtaken OOTP, who's 3. Both of these guys have overtaken Tim Salmon, Garrett Anderson, Poulos was on here, Zach Neto was on here, Troy Glaus, Vladdy. You overtake Tim Salmon, you're in pretty good company for Angels history. So obviously not going to reach Trout, but Nolan Shawnowell has had a great career here. So we, if we can bring him back, I would not be opposed to doing it. But as of right now, it looks like it probably is not the smartest thing to bring him back with what our money is looking like and what our roster situation is currently right now. Why is this on OSA? Anyways, Logan OOTP, another 4 WAR season, 139 WRC plus, 28 home runs. He walked a ton, strikes out less than 20% of the time. He's Logan OOTP, folks. Chris Aquino, what can you even fucking say? 4 WAR, 132 WRC plus, 23 doubles. How about 51 ding-dongs? Chris Aquino, folks. Accidentally right-clicked there. Chris Aquino, folks. Big Red is out here mashing. The man from Carbondale, Illinois, first full season in the big leagues here, and puts up 51 home runs, 126 ribbies, 9 runs, and the strikeout rate even dropped, folks. We'll take that. We'll take this type of power production with a 31 strikeout percentage. Absolutely. Love to see it from Aquino. Juan Soto puts up a 4 WAR in the DH spot. 140 WRC plus, 25 home runs, 33 doubles, 37 stolen bases at age 34, almost 35. Insane. I mean, what can you even say about the guy? Chris Lesnar, almost a 4 WAR, round up if you want. 129 WRC plus, 20 doubles, 46 home runs. Not quite Aquino, but, him and Aquino in that heart of the order, just insane. Them, as well as Shawnowell, all drove in 100 runs. They all basically scored 100 runs with Aquino and Lesnar both at 99. Now, I will say Lesnar, he has the home run power, and he was super productive, but his strikeout rate is at the point where it's like not ideal. Like, you need to improve that. You need to figure that stuff out. So DevLab probably once again for a Void K, because you cannot be running a 38.8 strikeout rate and consistently be a dude. Now, we did sign him long term, but it was a long term, pretty decently cheap contract. So as long as he keeps putting up these home run numbers, we will keep living with the strikeouts. And then Jeff Van Wingarden ended the season on a cold streak, but a solid 2-WAR year for him with a triple-digit WRC plus, 20 home runs, 18 doubles. You will take that from like a complimentary bottom of the order type piece for us. Dave Peter did not have a triple-digit WRC plus for us, but he did have a 1-WAR as a backup catcher again. You'll take that. Alvaro Dowd did not repeat his 5-WAR season as we expected, but he was, a positive WAR player. The bat was not there, but the glove was also, it took a step back, but overall still a positive outcome on the team. Chalowski was a backup. He was fine. It was whatever. Fletcher Clancy did not end up doing quite what I thought he was going to be for us, where I thought he was going to be able to tap into some real good like gap power type stuff with his speed. Now, he didn't strike out. He was not good at the plate, but he did give us a decent 11 ZR in center field, so we'll take that. Him and Dowd, totally defense first. Gutierrez was not great in a backup role. Urbanowicz came up at the end of the season. He was like, meh, whatever, in a very limited sample size. Schmidt was bad in an extremely small sip of coffee. And then John Harrington got 79 plate appearances, and he was also very bad. Harrington is a big power eye, BABIP gap power, big strikeout potential sort of guy. Struck out 46% of the time if you round up in 79 plate appearances. That is dreadful. And if we take a look at the batting leaders here in Major League Baseball, Chris Aquino led the major leagues in home runs. Chris Lesnar was top 3. He was third, right behind Colin Houck of the New York Mets. Colin Houck also led in ribbies. Right behind him was Aquino. Slugging, Aquino was top 3. OPS, Sean O'Well was top 4. Juan Soto, once again, in the top 5 in runs. Not quite leading, but still top 5. You will absolutely take that. Not quite in the leader for stolen bases, though, because Noelvi Marte looking like he's going to win MVP with just this absurd, like, old-school season, really. I mean, leads in stolen bases. He had 200 hits. He had a ton of runs. He had, I guess he didn't have that many doubles in the top 5, but he had the highest WAR. I was really just looking at the hits and the stolen bases, where he was really just getting on base and just wreaking havoc. Him and Ellie, they ended our season last year in the World Series. I'd like a shot at them again. If we can get back in the World Series and take on them again, bring it on. And then here you go. Chris Lesnar, top 3 in strikeouts. Number 1 is Nate Santorin, who's another guy this is another guy who hits a ton of home runs, walks a ton. This guy's Joey Gallo. Hits a ton of home runs, but he strikes out even more than Lesnar does. But the Reds live with it. He's still a very productive player for them, and the Reds live with it, so they'll keep rocking with him. And then with ISO, Aquino and Lesnar are both 1-2 in ISO. Base on balls counting stat, Juan Soto leads there once again. OPS plus, top 4 is Sean O'Well. And then Juan Soto also leads in win probability added. And then weighted OBA is WOBA, Sean O'Well in his top 5. The pitching leaders. Andre Zamora, remember, got hurt. At least I believe I mentioned that. Andre Zamora missed this season. So we have ourselves a new ERA king, and that is John Taylor of the Miami Marlins out of the College of William and Mary. Coming up in his first full season in the big leagues, putting up a 6 WAR. Pitchers love just going straight from like the low minors to the majors in this game and just being like, yeah, I'm a stud immediately. And the Cardinals still got 18 wins from Mike Sidow here as their ace. How did they do? Did they... Okay, so they're still competing for a playoff spot? Is there like a race going on, right? Okay. So it looks like you have a three-way tie for that last few spots in the wild card. So we'll see how that shakes out. But the Cardinals could still make the playoffs here. I'm also seeing right now Chris Sweet leading the league in saves with 45. A pretty great year for Chris Sweet here. If you remember, this is a guy who we traded to them for. Did not mean to do that. I want to go to history. Along with Blake Thurgood for Mike he was in the Mike Vasile trade. Oh my god. And we needed a reliever this down the stretch. And Mike Vasile was not able to be a good reliever for us. And what do you know? Chris Sweet here leads the National League in saves with a fantastic bullpen season. I don't know. I never thought this guy was going to be actually any good, but turns out he's turned out to have a pretty solid role here with San Diego. And then former Angel A.J. Smith-Shawver leading the league in pitcher WAR, tied with Dan Devine of the San Francisco Giants. And we also got Jim Parker of the Blue Jays, who's a consistent guy atop the WAR leader for pitchers. Justin Lampkin with 2 complete games. Lampkin and Schultz both top 4 in WHIP. Perez and Schultz are 2 and 3 respectively in BABIP. Perez is 4th in opponent's average. Win percentage, don't really give a shit about that, but, top 4%, or top 4 is both Lampkin and Schultz. Top 3, Petty apparently had a bunch of holds, even though he was not really good for us this year, but whatever. And then quality starts, Noah Schultz was top 5. And then we just had, Shawnwell on defense and a bunch of these, total chances, I play a lot of first base stats. Alvaro Dad, top 5 in assists. Defensive efficiency, though, number 2 was Logan O'Hoppe. Looked like his defense was slipping a bit. I believe his framing's definitely slipped, but overall still a very quality catcher. But as we know, he is not quite Ethan Salas, who led the league in caught stealing percentage for the Raleigh Oaks. Another solid WAR season with a terrible bat for Ethan Salas with his 80 grade blocking, 80 grade framing, and 80 grade arm. Leads the league in caught stealing percentage. Not quite top 5 in catcher's ERA, but he is number 1 in 15 framing runs. And then also Drew Romo's in Montreal. Is that new? That is definitely new. Drew Romo. So the expansion teams all in on the 80 grade framing. And then look at this. The Padres, they lose Salas, and who's their new catcher? This guy, a guy they got from us. Was he also the Vasile trade? No, this guy was the Jeremiah Estrada trade. So he came over, and they've got an 80 grade framing catcher now, who had his first season as a starter. Was fine as a really good defensive catcher, but he is not a bat whatsoever. So San Diego, they're loving us right now, but I don't really think they were they any good with that? I already forget. Okay, they made the playoffs, so we might even see them. But yeah, they got Juan Arenas from this. This guy is in high A, not really doing too much, and then it's going to send me back here. David Arroyo's in high A. This guy, I remember being a pretty decent international free agent who is in Double A, fractured cheekbone. He's had some decent seasons. He looks like he could be somebody someday, but not anytime not anything too crazy. Couple of standout player development updates here. Ben Urbanowicz. Stuff going down is not ideal, but it is just current stuff, so it does have the potential to go back up. But then Chris Lesnar improved his gap and his defense in left field. He's a 75 grade left fielder now, as he put up a 3.6 CR this year. Not really sure what that's about, but we'll take it that he improves in left field. And then our guy, Kanalate here. We ended the season with him in AAA. He is actually on the 40-man roster, so he is an option for us if we wanted to try him in center field at some point this postseason, but we're probably not going to do that right now. But he did end the year in AAA was not really hitting in AAA or AA, but he did do some improving here. As you can see, his current contact and his current eye both jumped up to 50. So now suddenly the bat looking a little bit more intriguing. And here you have the 2033 playoff bracket. We have do we have the best record? Were we the number 1 seed? You have to. I'm already on this page. What am I clicking on? We had the best record in baseball, so we are the number 1 overall seed. The Yankees are the 2 seed, and we will be facing whoever is the worst team that advances because this reseeds. Remember, us and the Yankees are the byes. Tigers and the Marlins are the byes in the National League, and you have the Padres taking on the Nats, the Mets taking on the A's, the Royals taking on the Braves, and the Cardinals taking on the Reds.